Lord, make us instruments of your peace.
Where there is hatred, let us sow love.
Where there is injury, pardon.
Where there is doubt,
Faith. Where there is despair, hope.
Where there is darkness,
light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master,
grant that we may not so much seek
to be consoled as to console,
to be understood as to understand,
to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive,
it is in pardoning that we are pardoned,
and it is in dying
that we are born to eternal life.
Amen.
WESN.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. NTA hopeful that President won't bow to political pressure. Opposition leader accuses the government of organized attack on DPP. Commission of Inquiry final report pushed to May. And internationally, UN says 10 million without safe water after Pakistan floods. Now for the details. NTA political leader Gary Griffith says President Christine Kangaloo has approached the portfolio with a refreshing tone, and it is left to be seen whether she can stand firm against political interference. He said past President Paula May Weeks treated President's house as more of the shrine of an individual who preferred to pontificate and talk down to citizens, oftentimes disrespecting our intelligence. But President Kangaloo started very well, promising openness, accessibility, and a demystification of the role of president, which Weeks seemed incapable of understanding, far less implementing. Griffith expressed the hope that President Kangaloo would not bow to political pressure. Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissassa says there is an organized attack on the DPP by the PNM government. Speaking at the UNC Monday Night Forum in St. Helena, Persad-Bissassa accused the Chief Justice of joining the attack on the DPP.
There is this orchestrated and coordinated attack on the DPP. It is clear that the CJ is being protected by Rowley. Archie issued, as I say, this 10-page statement. His release, it contains many statements which are presumptuous and are totally out of order, out of place from the office of the Chief Justice. If Cabinet approve a staff complement of 125, then who is the Chief Justice? Who is the Chief Justice? Not the man with that office. Who is that office to question the need for the number of staff?
The final report from the Paria Commission of Inquiry is expected to be completed by the month of May. The deadline was previously stated as April, but a statement signed by the Secretary to the Commission indicated that the delivery of Salmon letters will effectively push back the delivery date to sometime in May. Salmon letters are letters to be served to those affected which contain criticisms of individuals and or entities who were questioned at the Commission. The inquiry dissected details into the February 25, 2022 LMCS divers tragedy that claimed the lives of 4 divers. One man, Christopher Boudram, survived the ordeal. In international news now, about 6 months after catastrophic floods in Pakistan, more than 10 million people still lack access to safe drinking water in areas affected by the record-breaking rains, according to a United Nations report. Families living in flood-hit areas have no alternative but to drink and use potentially disease-ridden water, the UN's Children's Agency, or UNICEF, said in a report on Tuesday. Pakistan's worst floods began in June due to heavy rains. They killed at least 1,739 people, including 647 children, and affected 33 million people. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Welcome to another beautiful day here on AM Prime. We are so happy that you could have joined us today. We hope that you had a great day yesterday and that you're going to have a great day today and also continue to have a great week. We have so much in store for you today. Today we're talking sports, we're talking about culture and arts in Tobago. We're also going to be talking to a special author in our author highlight segment in the 7 o'clock hour. But before we get to all of that, let's start with our daily inspiration. And today's daily inspiration is simple. Stop sleeping on you. And no, I don't mean sleeping on yourself or falling asleep or pretending that you're up studying and you're sleeping or up working and you're sleeping. No. I mean stop doubting yourself. Start taking yourself seriously. Everything that you need to succeed is within you. You have it already. Stop doubting yourself. So say yes to the opportunities, something big, something, huge that you've never tried before presents itself as an opportunity. Stop doubting yourself. Say yes. It's an opportunity that came your way, which means that you have the ability to do it. Don't think that you can't do it. If you think can't, that's what it's going to be. You can do it. You can achieve. So start thinking positive about yourself, thinking that you can progress, thinking that you are able to achieve everything that you set out to achieve. Stop sleeping on you. And I know that's very easy to say. Something that I had to try was a little mirror work. What is mirror work? I'll tell you. You go in front of the mirror and you start telling yourself these positive affirmations. I can achieve all that I set out to do. I'm strong, I'm brave, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm equipped for this. Simple. You don't have to do it in front of people if you don't want to do it. You can do it in the privacy of your bathroom, in the privacy of your home, in your bedroom. But start believing in yourself. Start building up your self-esteem to accomplish those things that you set out to do. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're talking about sports. Stay with us.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Between 2020 and 2022, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service recorded 4,857 reports of domestic violence.
And there was a general figure that 10% of men may be abusers. When we look at the abusers, we found that some of them, it's like a scripted behavior.
Let's say my sister, I suspect she's in an abusive relationship. What are the signs that I need to look out for, early signs?
What's up, Doc?
every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
Trinidad, come and get blessed at the Good News Fest. Free groceries while stocks last and lots of giveaways like appliances and toys and much more with live music at each venue. 3 days only in South, March 30th at number 4 Recreation Ground, Palo Seco from 4 p.m. In Central, March 31st at Ancient Alley Promenade, Couva, 6 p.m. And in the East, April 1st, Macoya, Savannah, Macoya, 6 p.m. It's the Good News Fest, 3-day family event, March 30th to April 1st. Lots of giveaways after an encouraging word shared.
Thank you for staying with us. Our next interview, we're talking about sports, and we're speaking specifically about racism and discrimination within sports. We have with us Brian Lewis, who is the former TTOC president. He's also an advocate and so much more. Welcome to the studio, Brian.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you.
If I may slip in quickly,
yes.
Most important too in the whole conversation about racism is I'm also chair of the Sport Integrity Global Alliance Gender, Race, Inclusion and Diversity Committee.
Nice.
So that deals specifically with issues of discrimination and being and non-racism and non-discrimination in the global sport movement.
Okay, good, because we're going to talk about inclusion shortly, as well as discrimination. March 21st marked the day of observance by the UN, International Day of the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. And the theme really focused on the urgency of combating racism and discrimination. Let's talk about sports. You know, with your experience, with your expertise being in sports for this length of time, you have seen this, and how has this played out? What does racism and discrimination look like in sports?
All right, so before I answer the question, yes. I just wanted to tell you, wow, I found it was so interesting that your inspiration quote of the day is, stop sleeping on yourself.
Yes.
And the reality is that people in sport need to stop sleeping on themselves.
Okay.
Right, they need to stand up and speak out against the affront and stain of racism. So we all watch sport and we all understand the power of sport
yes.
as defined by the iconic Nelson Mandela. We all participate in sport. But because we kind of focus a lot on the entertainment part of it, we fail to acknowledge, maybe because it makes some of us uncomfortable, the reality that sports in a very real way continues to be a manifestation of systemic racism, discrimination, and the maintenance of the racist infrastructure ideologies that pertain in the world. So it's a very important and necessary conversation, because you watch a lot of times, and maybe even you will be guilty of it, and you see footballers in Europe being pelted with bananas, being taunted, the Nazi signs being made. So it's not as if people aren't aware that racism, in particular in the European-dominated sports and sport organization, is very much a real thing. But we turn our eyes from it and play that we don't see, we don't hear, and therefore we don't speak about it.
Right. I think what you said was really important in terms of not the entertainment aspect of sport, because while it might be entertaining for some, this is a lifestyle, this is a career for others. Tell us how you've seen racism and discrimination play out locally and within the region.
Well, the truth be told, in the Caribbean, there are those who would suggest with validity that it's more classism rather than an elitism rather than racism.
Okay.
But the reality is, because as a region, we identify so much with the exploits and successes and failures of our athletes and our sportsmen and sportswomen, whether Trinidad, for example, the Hazley Crawfords, the Atto Bolden, the Walcotts, Kishon Walcotts, and the Dylan Carters, the Soca Warriors. The reality is that, you know, if you recall 2 years ago, the racial indignities, slurs and insults the Trinidad and Tobago football team suffered when I think they played Mexico. So what it is that it's there because we expose our youth and young people who represent the red, white and black to the reality of the big world and the racism. And because we don't want to discuss it, it sometimes focuses on us, it comes across as a bit of a shock.
Right. How, before we go into how it's treated right now, right? Not what we want it to be treated as, but how does it affect the players? How does it affect the athletes when these things happen?
Well,
and also their performance as well too.
Well, any human being who is subjected to an insult or slur would be impacted.
Yes.
The reality is that all of us, we deal with things, each of us, you would deal with something differently to how I will deal with it. You may be more resilient. I may not be as resilient given a particular situation. But you have seen, for example, in Europe, we have footballers who have been taunted on the monkey chants that they walk off the field because it impacts you.
Yeah.
You have seen those who react by throwing back the banana and go on to score a goal. And in other words, the best revenge is massive success. I think Les Brown once said that. I know that I once went to an international sport meeting and put my hand out to shake someone's hands, and they watched it and ignored it in the presence of people, and I felt a bit embarrassed and humiliated. And at that time, I was waiting for an elevator with a group of white people at an international sports meeting, which is supposed to be friends and everything.
Yes.
And when the elevator came, they did not get into the elevator. Again, I felt a little embarrassed and humiliated, but you develop the resilience to know who you are, and you know that it says more about them than you.
Right.
Not everyone is at the emotional and mental and psychological maturity stage to be able to shake that off. It impacts you.
In the moment especially. Yeah. I said in the moment especially.
In the moment especially, and it could throw you off. So, and it's not ideal, you know, so the thing is that if you don't identify that we have issues or acknowledge it, then you can't begin to solve it.
Right. How do we treat with it now? Not just in terms of policy and legislation, but also in terms of amongst the teams. How do we treat with it right now?
Again, for me, it's also about awareness first. You're aware of the situations and therefore you inform how to deal with it mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. So a simple thing, you know, we don't like to acknowledge the past. And Marcus Garvey once said that a people who don't know their history, culture, and origins you are like a tree without roots. Yeah. And it is important to acknowledge that because of colonialism and slavery in particular, and the history of that, the system is very much built a particular way, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. Remember, back in the days of slavery, there was a slave code, 1661, the Barbados Slave Code, which legislated, legalized the view that black people of African descent, the slaves, were non-human, heathens and brutes. So you have to understand that there was an entire global system built on that, and the wealth and economic wealth of the system was built on that.
What kind of support is needed at this point?
I continue to say, I don't mean to sound like a stuck record, but I commend WESN and yourself for broaching this subject and broaching this subject as the first discussion on your at prime time. That's a start. Okay. The willingness to be open, honest, and true, to identify an issue, because people tend to put sports by the side as recreational only, not understanding the power of sport to impact, because sport is something that speaks to youth and young people.
Yes.
And if you want to help build their self-esteem, you have to ensure that the structures aren't destroying their self-esteem. So it is about awareness, it is about the willingness to have the conversations and the discussion to be able to move forward. You know, I'm not saying that we should live in the past or that we should become prisoners of the past, but I think people who say that are being hypocrites.
Yeah. Do you think that, do you think, what kind of policy and legislation should be put in place? Because we have athletes who, are abroad, with teams abroad, who represent us abroad at these international events.
Well, to be honest, there's a saying that you can't legislate good behavior. If that was so, then the laws on the books would stop crime and corruption and bribery. To me, it's about awareness. It's becoming informed and educated. That way we could, just as how you train people, athletes, to deal with the media, you have to prepare, knowledge is power, and to be prepared is important in how to deal with these things, because it could very well foster an us versus them scenario. Right. And, sports is supposed to be a unifying power that makes a positive difference to society. So, to me, it's about awareness, these types of conversations, acknowledging that the global sports movement is built on certain structures, and getting them and all the others, the global community, first to sit down and talk about racism. Right. And don't be performative and hypocritical and just do it for a PR, just to feel good in a moment, and then you move on, because the people who are subject to racism live with it every day, because none of us can change the color of our skin or the texture of our hair. So we have to live with it every day, and it's a global community now.
Yeah, definitely. How do we move forward, and what is some of the work that the organization is doing in terms of diplomacy and inclusion?
It's about being resilient. Of course, you can't just articulate or re-articulate what the problem is. You have to be part of the creation of solutions. And for me, it is about appreciating issues of human rights, and that it is a human right. It is about, in particular, when you look at the Caribbean, the conversation about reparation and reparative justice is an important one that triggers people the wrong way. But I think it is important. So, for example, when you look at the Commonwealth sports movement and the Commonwealth Games Federation, which began as the British Empire Games in 1930. So in a very real way, the Commonwealth Games, it moved from the British Empire Games to the British Empire, and Commonwealth Games to the British Commonwealth Games to now, since 1978, the Commonwealth Games. It's a bit of a reband, but its origin was in empire.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've said that from the perspective of the Commonwealth Games Federation and the Commonwealth Sports Movement, it needs to be part of the reparation and reparative justice. I've proposed and suggested that a reparation fund be set up by the Commonwealth Games Federation, where funding is provided to assist sport development in the Commonwealth sports development in the Caribbean, using the percentage or portion or contributions from what is called reparation payments. That, to me, in terms of that narrow thing, we also have to be committed, not just as institutions, but personally, to non-racism and non-discrimination. And it is something that, just as you would want to talk about the requirements of the financial intelligence unit and full disclosure and source of funds, we must hold the spotlight to discrimination in all forms, wherever it may exist, whether historical or not.
Right. So accountability. Accountability.
Accountability and transparency. There's nothing wrong in apologizing for past sins, if you want to use that word.
Yeah.
And many organizations aren't willing to do that. Many societies aren't willing to do that. Many governments aren't willing to do that. And that is important.
Yeah. Before we wrap, what advice would you give to aspiring athletes, aspiring players who are coming up? They want to be a part of the sport. They have started already. They may be on a junior team or something. You know, what do you tell them in terms of navigating what to expect?
Preparation, like in everything else, you have to be prepared to perform physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and cognitively. And that goes back to, in the context of this is a competition about sport and sport organization, the need to have a proper long-term athlete development structure and people development structure, if you want to call it that way, that's built on addressing not just the physical needs, but the mental, emotional, cognitive, as you just put it in the generic way, mental health. That's important.
Yeah.
You know, as I said, it's something we need to do, because this generation of youth and young people are facing so many challenges, especially coming out of the COVID pandemic, that we need to face up front that racism is a pandemic, especially in this week, because we don't get much opportunities to highlight it legitimately. Yeah. Tuesday, the 21st, was the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Saturday comes of the slavery and the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah.
So as you said, what was the word you used? Stop sleeping on yourself?
Stop sleeping on yourself.
That's so apt today.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian Lewis, for joining us, for having this conversation. We definitely will check in with you to further talks on this. It is important. We take a short break. When we come back, we have lots more in store for you. Stay with us.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship Mac Bean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We the police officers, we are professional and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, it's for all of us in public.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
But if we died with Christ, we have faith that we will also live with him. We know that Christ has been raised from the dead, and he will never die again. Death no longer has power over him. He died to sin once and for all with his death, but he lives for God with his life. Join WESN as we explore the death and resurrection of Christ with He is Risen, a perspective from bearing leaders within the Christian faith. He is Risen, starting March 27th, only on WESN, the content capital.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we go to some regional news. In Jamaica, police are making headway into catching those responsible for last week's multi-million-dollar robbery. Jamaican News Today, Television Jamaica has more on this report.
In other news now, as investigations into yesterday's multi-million-dollar heist in Portmore St. Catherine intensify, police say they are getting closer to nabbing those responsible. The cops say they now know the identities of the attackers. Kimon Witter has the details.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force says several operations are ongoing to find the criminals behind the brazen afternoon robbery in Portmore St. Catherine on Sunday. Videos circulating on social media showed that security guards from Beryllium came under heavy gunfire from armed robbers as they were approaching the Scotiabank automated banking machine in Brayton Parkway. 5 people were wounded, including 4 security guards and a licensed firearm holder. 3 guards were shot, but their injuries are not life-threatening. Head of the JCF's Corporate Communications Unit, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, says the men in the attack have been identified.
They now have an idea as to who they are looking for and who are the perpetrators behind the attack.
All right, and in terms of the vehicles that were found, we have confirmed that they were in fact used in the robbery?
Yes, they confirmed that those were the vehicles that were involved, and they have tracked down, the owners, etc. So they are doing some work around that. It forms a very critical part of the investigation. So the vehicles remain in police custody as they do the necessary work around them.
The vehicles being referred to were found in Lake Spence, St. Catherine. In the meantime, SSP Lindsay says with the amount of cash the robbers made off with yesterday, there could be serious consequences for residents as well as the robbers themselves.
It's not unusual for us to now have to see infighting among criminal groups for the spoils, and it's not unusual for them to direct this fund into getting additional guns and ammunition to strengthen their criminal network. So it's usually the citizens that suffer in these instances, and that is why we'd love for them to assist in any way they can to get these persons apprehended. But from the policing side, the commanding officer is very satisfied with where they are so far.
The attackers reportedly stole $23.2 million. 94 9mm spent shells and 76 spent casings from rifles were found at the scene. Kimon Witter reporting for TVJ News.
That was in Jamaica. Over to Grenada. The Inter-Caribbean Airways' new ATR 42 service between Grenada and Barbados was recently launched. GIS has more on this report.
Local and intra-regional travel are being given a boost with the launch of the Inter-Caribbean Airways' new ATR 42 service on the Grenada to Barbados route. The collapse of the regional airline LIAT has left a void in regional travel. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell has been a strong voice in the region, championing a change in regional travel that will not just boost tourism but improve connectivity. Honorable Mitchell says Grenada's partnership with Inter-Caribbean is a start in correcting this problem.
The fact that we have regrettably regressed when it comes to our connectivity, when it comes to our ability to spend time with family, friends, when it comes time to get the ability to travel for festivals, to exchange ideas, to really continue to grow the Caribbean civilization. If we can't leave the islands, essentially we are, I wouldn't say landlocked, but ocean-locked. And to some extent, it really makes it very difficult for us to progress as a civilization. So I'm happy that I can get to Barbados today and get back today. Not so long ago, that was a routine, normal expectation that you could leave Grenada, get to Trinidad and back, leave Grenada, get to Barbados and back in a day. St. Vincent, St. Lucia similarly. So I believe this is the first step in that process. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy to continue supporting it. I'm happy to continue supporting Inter-Caribbean. I've said repeatedly, no one is coming to save us. We as a region have to save ourselves.
Chairman of Inter-Caribbean Airways, Lyden Gardner, thanked Prime Minister Mitchell for actively supporting and leading by example in bringing about change to the airlift woes in the region.
This partnership offers new direct service between Grenada and Barbados. It will improve air travel connectivity and develop interregional tourism, an area that is vastly untapped. Experts have long lauded the great potential in tourism spend from within the Caribbean. If only our people had better access to each other and what our respective islands have to offer. Call me an optimist, but I'm sure the tourism bosses here will agree that direct flights offers more capacity and better scheduling will enhance Grenada's tourism success. Its signature cultural event, the Spice Mass, other major festivals and sporting events, including the upcoming Grenada Invitational.
Minister for Infrastructure and Civil Aviation, Honorable Dennis Cornwell, says this is a welcome addition in making regional travel easier.
It's very welcoming to have another aircraft that is going to be much more comfortable in terms of foot space and the environment around you, to be part of the service that would be continuing the leg between Grenada and Barbados. I know that route has been a very critical route for us over time because most of us who would have gone to Barbados for interviews to get our visa would have relied on that early morning flight to Barbados. And we've had some challenges. We do hope that we are now across that bridge where we can create a better environment for everyone so that we can continue the reliability, the sustainability of that aircraft between Grenada and Carriacou and further beyond. I know St. Kitts and Nevis has recently also welcomed the Inter-Caribbean Airlines to their shows, and we hope that the traveling public within the OECS region can be improved. I do not want to go back to the days of Liat when we had all our problems and so on. Liat, 1974 is now history for most of us. And we want to ensure that we can build a relationship between Inter-Caribbean and the government of Grenada to ensure that our traveling public can get the best service that is required on this route.
That was our regional news. We take a short break. When we come back, we're talking arts and culture in Tobago. Stay with us.
Trinidad, come and get blessed at the Good News Fest. Free groceries while stocks last and lots of giveaways like appliances and toys and much more with live music at each venue. 3 days only in South, March 30th at number 4 Recreation Ground, Palo Seco from 4 p.m. In Central, March 31st at Ancient Alley Promenade, Couva, 6 p.m. And in the East, April 1st, Macoya Savannah, Macoya, 6 p.m. It's the Good News Fest, 3-day family event, March 30th to April 1st. Lots of giveaways after an encouraging word shared.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The best birthday gifts are at dbesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices. Like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
We recently celebrated World Poetry Day as part of UNESCO's observance. We have this morning our interview on Tobago about poetry, spoken word and arts in the Sister Isle. Welcoming via Zoom is Ascala George, educator, spoken word artist, creative and so much more. Welcome, Ascala.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Good morning, everyone, from the beautiful Sister Isle of Tobago.
Thank you for being here. I'm excited for this conversation. So, World Poetry Day, we just concluded that. Tell us, how were you able to celebrate this and what does poetry mean to you?
All right, so I'm hearing my daughter saying mommy, mommy in the back. So let me just we on live, right?
Yes, we are.
I'm on an interview. All right, so great.
Yes.
This is really nice.
This is it.
Poetry Day in Tobago was celebrated at Bishop's High School with my spoken word group. We had the privilege of hosting assembly and at the assembly, we were able to offer several different pieces to the students, highlighting different issues that we have not only in our school, but in the community, because poetry is just a form of expression and educating. So we really use that forum to highlight what is going on, and we did that with the students.
Nice. Now, you are a spoken word artist, so you've seen you know, performing, competing as well too in the local slam poetry competitions that they have. What does poetry mean to you as an individual? How has it helped you?
Right. Well, as an individual, I think most poets start with expressing how they feel. So a personal view of how you feel and how you see the world. That's how poetry normally starts. And then as you mature as an individual and in the art form, you use it as a form of representing people, as a form of being the voice for the voiceless. So for me, it has been a journey of introspection, firstly, and then representation in the second leg. And I'm excited to see where we go next.
Nice. I'm excited as well, too. Before we get into the upcoming event, you know, we have come out of a pandemic, and we use that very cautiously because we're still seeing the results or experiencing challenges because of it. But as a creative, an all-around creative, how were you able to pivot in that period of time? As well as what are some of the, you know, lessons or the skills that you would have been able to perfect during that period where, you know, we didn't have events, we didn't have these gatherings, live performances in person? How were you able to navigate that?
Well, to me, what the pandemic gave us was, well, what the pandemic gave me was time on my hand. And I am a type of person that when I have too much time on my hand, if I'm not occupied, I feel like there's no purpose, and that's not a good feeling. So I used that time to really explore my creativity. So I found myself really diving into the visual arts. I'm also a painter, so I found myself painting a lot to the point of being able to have an exhibition. And then I also found myself writing a lot. And writing a lot was based on observing a lot, because now that you have time, you get to see what people are going through. You're not as plugged into the 8 to 4 routine as you were before. You can now observe society, and with that observation, you get to really express what is going on from your point of view, or what is going on from persons who express their point of view. So for me, the pandemic allowed for that time for you to pause and really put pen to paper and record what was happening then and is happening now.
Yes. Now, Tobago. One of the things that I love and appreciate about the Sister Isle is the fact that literature, literacy, you know, spoken word, poetry is alive in Tobago. There are always these events, there are always these opportunities, even within the library, to really celebrate written word. Tell us about poetry in Tobago, and then I guess segue into mood writers.
All right, so we have a lot of different groups in Tobago that are dedicated to poetry. Yes, we're going to talk about mood writers, but one of the other groups is the Tobago Writers Guild. The Tobago Writers Guild, they are a force. They have been spearheading written literacy in Tobago. They are dealing with the historic aspect of literacy. They are really in depth. It's an awesome group. We also have the library that is extremely active. They are always bringing in different feature speakers. They're always bringing in different programs to educate not only the older persons in society, the more mature people, but they also target the children, and that's the root, you know. So literacy, spoken word poetry is alive and well in Tobago. We also have spoken word taking place from the secondary school level. Different schools have their groups, and then we work with different organizations in the Sister Isle, the 2 Cent movement, and so on. And then finally, we have the group that I'm representing this morning, the Mood Writers Association, which is yet another group promoting literacy in Tobago, not only in the form of poetry or in the form of books, whether they are true novels or imaginary stuff, but also promoting spoken word. So literacy is alive and well in Tobago.
Nice. So 1 month from now, we have a show happening. Tell us about that show. Tell us about the name of the show. Why does the name of the show? And then tell us about what to expect at the show.
All right. So 1 month from now, and I didn't even realize it was 1 month from now. Oh my gosh, the clock is ticking. 1 month from now, we have the Tobago Jazz Festival that is taking place between the 20th, which is a Thursday, to the 23rd, which is a Friday. We have several events highlighting culture of Tobago in the form of music, vocal instruments, and so on. Luckily, this year, on the 21st, there was a free night.
Right.
So Mood Writers decided that we are going to capitalize on this night, and we are going to host a spoken word concert under the theme Aseta Old Talk. Now, the reason we chose that theme is because, yes, in society, locally, regionally, internationally, we have so much to talk about, so much to talk about. And we are going to deal with those issues, but we wanted to deal with it in a more relaxed way so that when you come to the event, yes, you will be educated, but you would also leave feeling a release. So we don't want to heavy down the scene. In other words, we want to educate, but we want to make it light while being thought-provoking. So the aspect of Old Talk is going to be designed to really touch some buttons, but in a way that would leave you going, aha, rather than...
Yes. What is the message? Because, you know, for Jazz Festival, we're going to see a lot of foreigners. We'll see persons visiting from Trinidad, from the Caribbean, and the world moreover. What is the message that Mood Writers would want to send to these foreigners who would be coming to the event? What is the message you want to send about Tobago?
Right. So we want foreigners, and not just foreigners, because in Tobago, most of our tourism is local tourism. Big up Trinis are always on our island. So so it's not just foreigners, it's even our brothers and sisters in Trinidad. We want them to come to Tobago and experience our culture, experience our food, experience our jargon, experience our way of life, experience how we love, experience how we talk, you know, and just be enveloped into the culture. Kind of lose yourself for a while, wash away your stresses for a while, and basically reset, refocus, revamp so that you can go and conquer the rest of this year, right? So when you come, you're definitely going to be exposed to local artists, whether those are singers, whether those are instrumentalists, whether those are poets. We are even going to have comedians there as well. And it's all going to be Tobago based. So you're going to have an intense baptism in Tobago culture.
Nice. So tell us where persons can get tickets, where can they find Mood Writers online or find out more details about this upcoming event?
So tickets are available from community members. You visit the Mood Writers Facebook page and you will see the flyers with all the numbers there. You can call persons and then we will arrange for you to get the tickets. If you are local, we'll drop off the tickets. If you are not local, we can mail the tickets for you so that you can have it tangibly, or we can hold the tickets for you, and then when you do come, you can get it tangibly then.
Nice.
Right, so yeah, I'm seeing on the screen, so all the numbers are to the bottom. You call and we can arrange for you to get those tickets.
Right. Now, one thing before we wrap, I know that you all have a long list of performers, but you released a certain number. So tell us who are the persons, the names that have been released already, the cast for the upcoming events.
All right. So far, I'm going to try to remember. We have Zakia Gill, we have Cleon McPherson, we have Creed Black, we have myself, Ascala George, we have Stacy Herbert, we have Azen, that's his stage name, but his name is Akim Walker. We have Kwa, the original, she is a singer, and we have a whole other list of people. You're all getting Tobago culture in the back with this call, right?
Nice, we love it, we love it. Thank you so much, Ascala. All the best to you, all the best to your team on this upcoming event. We'll definitely check in with you before the event happens. All right, take care.
Thank you.
We take
Have
a
a
short,
good day.
yes, you too. We take a short break. When we come back, we have lots more in store. Stay with us.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN Content Capital.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive. It is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole. It's for all of us in public.
Trinidad, come and get blessed at the Good News Fest. Free groceries while stocks last, and lots of giveaways like appliances and toys and much more, with live music at each venue. 3 days only. In South, March 30th at number 4 Recreation Ground, Palo Seco from 4 p.m. In Central, March 31st at Ancient Alley Promenade, Couva, 6 p.m. And in the East, April 1st, Macoya Savannah, Macoya, 6 p.m. It's the Good News Fest, 3-day family event, March 30th to April 1st. Lots of giveaways after an encouraging word shared.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. NTA hopeful that President won't bow to political pressure. Opposition leader accuses the government of organized attack on DPP. Commission of Inquiry final report pushed to May. And internationally, UN says 10 million without safe water after Pakistan floods. Now for the details. NTA political leader Gary Griffith says President Christine Kangaloo has approached the portfolio with a refreshing tone, and it is left to be seen whether she can stand firm against political interference. He said past President Paul Weeks treated President's house as more of the shrine of an individual who preferred to pontificate and talk down to citizens, oftentimes disrespecting our intelligence. But President Kangaloo started very well, promising openness, accessibility, and a demystification of the role of president, which Weeks seemed incapable of understanding, far less implementing. Griffith expressed the hope that President Kangaloo would not bow to political pressure. Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar says there is an organized attack on the DPP by the PNM government. Speaking at the UNC Monday Night Forum in St. Helena, Persad-Bissessar accused the Chief Justice of joining the attack on the DPP.
There is this orchestrated and coordinated attack on the DPP. It is clear that the CJ is being protected by Rowley. Archie issued, as I say, this 10-page statement. His release, it contains many statements which are presumptuous and are totally out of order, out of place from the office of the Chief Justice. If Cabinet approve a staff complement of 125, then who is the Chief Justice? Who is the Chief Justice? Not the man with that office. Who is that office to question the need for the number of staff?
The final report from the Paria Commission of Inquiry is expected to be completed by the month of May. The deadline was previously stated as April, but a statement signed by the Secretary to the Commission indicated that the delivery of Salmon letters will effectively push back the delivery date to sometime in May. Salmon letters are letters to be served to those affected which contain criticisms of individuals and or entities who were questioned at the Commission. The inquiry dissected details into the February 25, 2022 LMCS divers tragedy that claimed the lives of 4 divers. One man, Christopher Boudram, survived the ordeal. In international news now, about 6 months after catastrophic floods in Pakistan, more than 10 million people still lack access to safe drinking water in areas affected by the record-breaking rains, according to a United Nations report. Families living in flood-hit areas have no alternative but to drink and use potentially disease-ridden water, the UN's Children's Agency, or UNICEF, said in a report on Tuesday. Pakistan's worst floods began in June due to heavy rains. They killed at least 1,739 people, including 647 children, and affected 33 million people. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for watching.
But if we died with Christ, we have faith that we will also live with him. We know that Christ has been raised from the dead, and he will never die again. Death no longer has power over him. He died to sin once and for all with his death, but he lives for God with his life. Join WESN as we explore the death and resurrection of Christ with He is Risen, a perspective from bearing leaders within the Christian faith. He is Risen, starting March 27th, only on WESN, the content capital.
Thank you for staying with us. We have lots in store for this second half of the show, so stay with us. And we're just recapping our daily inspiration. Stop sleeping on yourself. Stop sleeping on you. Everything that you need to achieve what you want to achieve is already in you. Don't say no to opportunities because you're doubting yourself, because you think you're not able to, you're not capable of doing, you know, the thing that you want to accomplish, the dream that you've had. You have it. You got this. You're awesome. As I told you before, do some mirror work. Start talking to yourself. Girl, you have this. Guy, you're good. You already achieved what you need to achieve, all right? We need to believe in ourselves. We need to build up our self-esteem. Stop sleeping on you. Now, we're still celebrating World Poetry Day. We just spoke about poetry in the first hour. We are going to toss to our friends at the Boca Slitfest with their National Poetry Slam. The First Citizens National Poetry Slam is happening. We spoke to the team about it earlier this week, and we have a video from their prelims. One of the persons who competed and has made it to the semi-final round, Shakir Gray. Let's take in his performance.
An old carpenter once told me, you measure twice, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. When time come, I measure once, twice, thrice. I measure so much times, now afraid to cut. Ever since I started doing nothing, now afraid to stop. A wise head once said, keep a still tongue, since then my tongue so still, it stuck. If I drive in and I see amber, I come to a stop. Bessie call me John. I said, if I drive in and I see amber, I come to a stop. Bessie call me Johnny. Because clearly I out of my depth. I have little left, a little less, a little short of distress. This just frustrating. They call it analysis paralysis. And like I paralyze. I paralyzed by options, immobilized by decisions I yet to make. I terrified to encounter a countenance I yet to face. I feel if I stand still enough, I could evade my fate. I'm working on it. But I'm contractually obligated to inaction. Maybe I should write about it. Maybe. But you see, I don't like rhymey poetry. Although I don't know how I feel about free verse. I don't like being spoken for, but I have a hard time when I have to speak first. I can't decide if I despise indecisive people. I am always the vehicle with a chorus of horns and a long line behind. In my mind, I will never leave a roundabout. So if it feels like I'm going in circles around the same point, exactly. That's what it feels like to be indecisive. A whole lot saying, but no progress making. Truth be told, I'm fed up. I'm fed up fumbling. I'm fed up letting every good thing slip through my fingers like sand. I'm fed up laying, waiting, asking for permission to stand. If I have to hear no 1,000 times, it's better than not knowing where I stand. I say I'm fed up. And this fed up is enough to make something shake, just for the sake of something. Something's sake. So next chance I get at doing something safe. Because life is under no obligation to wait for you. And the burden of regret is enough weight for two. But what if? What if I make a bad cut? What if? What if I focus on what is? So now you see why I couldn't cut it for carpentry, because I don't know what would work. If I had to write about not starting, I wouldn't know how to stop. Because remember, if I direct in the action, I wouldn't know when to.
An amazing piece by Shakir Gray, and this and more you can see on the stage for the National Poetry Slam happening this weekend. We're going to toss to our friends at the Lightbox TT for a video, a special video with some musicians and an artist. Let's take it in. It's Daniel Ryan, Charles Ryan, and they're performing After the Storm with the artist Vida Mitchell. Let's watch.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, we promised you an author spotlight interview, and you're going to get it. We're going to have to do a throwback because our author is currently stuck in traffic. We will reschedule with her, but we had such an insightful conversation with one of our authors last week. His name is Keon Francis, and his book is entitled Children of the Eternal Mother. Children of the Eternal Mother. An amazing novel, and via this conversation, we learned so much about Keon. So let's throw it back to this interview, and when we come back, we wrap today's show. Thank you for staying with us. Our next segment, Author Spotlight, we're going to be featuring a special author with us. We have Keon Francis, and he's the author of the book Children of the Eternal Mother novel. Welcome to AM Prime, Keon Francis.
Hi, good morning to you. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you for being here with us. How are you doing?
I'm cool. I'm good.
Okay, so tell us a bit about Keon Francis, for persons who don't know. Tell us about yourself.
Well, Keon Francis is, at this point in time, an author. Yay! I would have started my career in the arts as an actor. In secondary school, I performed for secondary school drama festival.
Okay.
I also participated in Best Village as an actor, and then as I got older, as a writer, director. Before I went to the University of the West Indies to study theatre arts and creative writing, which is the foundation for this book. Yeah.
Tell us about this book.
Well, at its core, in terms of the story, basically tells, well, An ancient evil has returned, and to save their realm, 2 young people must overcome their biases and ignorance to claim the only power that could defeat them, that of the betrayers. Yeah, it follows these 2 young people on their journey of self-discovery, and to try and claim a power that they both fear for different reasons. What is unique about it, or not necessarily unique, but I think what is pertinent for Trinidad and Tobago is that I utilize Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago folk and carnival characters and traditions in the telling and weaving of the story.
Why was it important for you to do that?
Well, as a child, I was an avid reader. I read a lot. I was always in, I grew up in San Fernando, and Gasparilla. So I was always in San Fernando Library on High Street from a young age, from primary school. But one of the things that I always lamented was that I couldn't find many novels that spoke to me and my culture. And I love fantasy. So, you're reading books with dragons and wizards and goblins and orcs and all these type of things. But then I got into Best Village and I started learning about Papa Bois and Laja Bless and all these characters. And I couldn't find books that speak to those things, So as I got older, I participated in Best Village, and I started to participate in the annual Cambule reenactment. That takes place Carnival Friday morning, Piccadilly Greens. And from that, I started to learn even more about my culture. I learned about our carnival characters and the history and the African influence on carnival, etc., etc. And that inspired me to write a play. Yeah. I wanted to see these characters utilized in a story as characters. So I set about writing this play. And I wrote the play. And then when I wrote the play was Tales of Nikaval, The Uniting of Dinadrat. So that was the first name. That was the first name of this book. Yeah. And after writing the play and seeing the effect that it had on the participants, on the actors, because at that time I was working in Caratal Youth Creations, directing, writing for Best Village. And I saw the impact of them learning about these characters that they wouldn't have really known about, because we had the bats, we had cow mass, we had dragon band and all those type of things. So I decided, no, I need to write this into a book.
Right. We're going to go to a short break, but when we come back here, we want to talk about adapting a play to a book and the challenges that would have come up with that. We take a short break, go to news, and we'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. We are speaking to Keon Francis, and he's an author. We're talking about his book, and you were just telling us, Keon, about adapting your play to now works of literature. So tell us about that process, because that would not have been easy.
Well, no. So I think I would faster use, rather than say adapting, I would say converting. Because it was more of a conversion. Because the 2 media, while they do utilize the core elements of story, conflict, etc., it really is 2 different media. So there's a lot that went into the novel that I had to build on the play, because a play is still a 90-minute, creature.
Right.
So I had to build on that so that the actual final product of the book is so much more than I had initially in the play. I'll never forget my first version, because I studied creative writing specifically because I wanted to do justice by the work. So I went back to the University of the West Indies to do my master's in creative writing. I made the decision to let that be my master's, which I could then use as a stepping stone to go into my PhD. And the very the very first chapters I wrote, and I presented to my professor, Professor Hayat Sheena. I remember them reading the chapters and saying, but there's half of the book, you know, because it was so condensed, the information that I didn't, you know, so I had like 5 chapters, and they told me these 5 chapters are actually like 15 chapters or 20 chapters. Yeah. So it really was a work in progress to grow and understand how to, you know, weave a story and really express and expound in a way that would be sufficient for the reader as opposed to putting it on stage.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said, because you mentioned, you know, before, you being a child going to the library, you know, and reading, but not seeing yourself in the books that were presented. Talk to us about the importance of that, and how does that challenge you now to make a difference where that is concerned in terms of the lives of the young people that exist today?
Well, I think that's extremely important, you know, because I only grew in my sense of self when I began to be exposed to my own culture and traditions and that type of thing through Best Village, you know, and it made a difference to me in my life in terms of understanding who I am and where I am and where I come from, you know. That plays a critical role, and just the idea of seeing yourself. Right. Because the other day well, I'll age myself. I'm 38 years old, and up to 4 or 5 years ago, I realized that I still read white. And when I say read white, is that I will be reading a book or listening to an audiobook that explicitly has Black or African characters, and I will still be seeing them with blonde hair and blue eyes in my mind. You know?
That conditioning.
Yeah, and that's a problem. That's a problem. So that speaks to being able to see yourself. And I think that's really the importance of this work and why I really wanted to do this work. So I have applied to the Ministry of Education for the possibility of trying to go to schools to speak to, well, the more adult students, Form 5s and 6s, because it is a more, you know, a new adult novel. It's not for necessarily a young adult novel, right? But to speak to like Form 5s and 6s, because of, not really just to promote the novel, but to probably show them, speak of my journey, speak of what I went through, and speak of the idea of having a dream and fighting and working towards that dream, because it's important, and we need more people to have dreams and be willing to put in the work that it takes to get it, because I started this process in 2006 with a play.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Keon, and I think it's really important that young people see a living example of, you know, commitment, passion, sacrifice, and now see the actual product before their hands and get to read this book. Where can persons find this novel?
Well, right now you can find the novel in Port of Spain. You can check Metropolitan Bookstore on Arpita Avenue, paper based at Normandy Hotel, Blue Edition in Tunapuna, as well as the San Fernando Creative Arts Center in San Fernando.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, if you know me personally, I'm a number, give me a call and we could arrange a drop-off as well.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Keon. Such an awesome throwback with our author, Keon Francis, and the amazing work he's doing with his novel in and around schools, showing the children an example of someone who came up just like them in school, in the library, had a passion for literature, had a passion for writing, and is now doing some really amazing things. Thank you for staying with us this morning. I hope you were educated, informed, inspired, and entertained. We hope that you have a great day. Stop sleeping on yourself. Get to work. You have things to do. You have amazing things to accomplish. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Remember, if you want an interview with us, you can email us at amprimewesn@gmail.com, or you can simply call or WhatsApp us at 868-620-1331. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
WESN.
I'm Andy Johnson, and you're watching WESN, the content capital.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
Between 2020 and 2022, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service recorded 4,857 reports of domestic violence.
And there was a general figure that 10% of men may be abusers. When we look at the abusers, we found that some of them, it's like a scripted behavior.
Let's say my sister, I suspect she's in an abusive relationship. What are the signs that I need to look out for, early signs?
What's Up, Doc? Every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Psyched. Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of